The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And A.J. Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome back to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, A.J. Applegarth. What's up, man?
Too much. Just ready to talk some prospects and draft.
Absolutely, man. Welcome back. Missed you last week. Dave, Eddie filled in rather nicely for you, but always happy to have you back, man.
Excellent.
So not a lot of random topics to talk about to kick off the show. We actually got a pretty full one tonight, so we'll just get right to it. But the one thing I do want to just mention is St. Louis wins the Cup, man. Go Blues. First time in like 50-plus years, I think, of their – or maybe first time in like 50-plus years, something like that. I would say sorry to Boston, but I'm not really sorry. You guys win way too much, and just, no, sorry. I'm not going to apologize to you guys. I don't know how you feel about that, AJ, but I don't really give a crap that they lost.
No,
they can take their other 45
very
championships
happy
and just
that the Blues won. I believe this is the first time in their franchise history.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
And they went from the bottom of the barrel around Christmas. I think they were in last place, I believe, and came back and won it. So two years straight, you had really good stories with the Cup. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see much of the games, but I didn't have a dog in the fight really, so wasn't paying as much attention.
Yeah, me neither.
But definitely glad to see Boston get there and then lose. I like that better than them just, A, winning, but B, just not even getting there. I feel like it's more of a letdown for their fans that they get there and lose.
Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. All right, man. Well, we had a good show tonight. One of my favorite shows of the entire season. We're going to talk about some of the first-year player drafts, guys. And to help us, our friend Chris Blessing from Baseball HQ. Follow him on Twitter at @C_Blessing. Chris, you there?
Yeah, man. What's up?
Not much, man. It's been a couple months since we talked to you, and I hope you got some good info for us, man. It was hopefully an exciting draft.
I guess you can say that. It was exciting more. I've been working as a associate scout, helping out. It's kind of more of a volunteer thing with the Indians, and the scout that I work for drafted 5 guys, so that made it more exciting for me than it's ever been. So,
yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah.
So we are going to do our. You're used to this, but we used to do it at the end. We moved it to the beginning. We're going to do our beer of the week.
Beer.
And to help to get us started, we'll let you take off with this because we know that and I've got extra sounds playing on top of this. That's cool. I thought I hit stop, but all right. You guys won't hear that. Everybody that watches afterwards will hear it. It's no big deal. It was just a little Bob Uecker. So yeah, I know you like this segment, so we'll let you kick it off with what you're drinking tonight, man.
All right. I just cracked open something from a brewery in Atlanta called Three Taverns Brewery. It's called D3. It's a mixture. It's an IPA. It's a mixture of melon, berry, citrus, and juice explosion. It's a fairly good beer so far. I've never had it before. And if we go a little further, I have a burial beer from Asheville, Ceremonial Session IPA. I'd like to my birthday was a few weeks ago, and my buddy Brian, who was one of my best men in the wedding, got me both of these beers. So, trying it out here on this show.
Nice, man. Actually, our producer, Keith Lott, is pretty close to. Are you talking about Asheville, North Carolina?
Yep, Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, he's right outside of there, I believe.
Cool.
So I know he's heard of what heard of what you're drinking.
I'm sure he has. Burial's a very popular brewery in Asheville.
Cool, man. AJ, what you got?
All right, I am kicking back the Firestone Walker Luponic Distortion IPA Series number 12.
Solid choice.
This one is a 5.9% ABV. It's got some hints of tangerine, strawberry gummy, honeydew. I really like all of the Luponic Distortion series. I've yet to have one that's bad. So this one's pretty flavorful, pretty light, easy drinking. Almost borderline session IPA, I feel like, but a little heavier than that. So
yeah, I believe you and I, AJ, tried our first Luponic Distortion IPA when we were planning shows one time at our office / brewery.
Yes, yes, we did.
To do our planning. So I'm drinking something that I've never had, although it's a brand I've had quite a bit. It's Flying Dog Tropical Bitch Belgian IPA. It's obviously a Belgian style IPA. It's 8%. Brewed with guava, pineapple, and tangerine. Pretty good. I'll read the little side note here, although it's all wrinkled, so it's not very helpful. For years, she's gone walking. When she passes, she lures you in, and time after glorious time, she never disappoints. Tall and tan, young and lovely, you smile with a swing so cool and a sway so gentle. You'll give your heart gladly. Okay. Those are always
do you need
interesting.
to get a room over
I don't
there?
know, man. I'm sweating. Whew. That's pretty intense. No, but it's a good beer. It's pretty heavy actually. It's definitely like there's some Belgian IPAs that don't quite have like the Belgian style to them, but this definitely does. It's good though. It's hitting the spot. Hopefully it'll clear up my froggy throat, but I doubt it. So you guys are gonna have to bear with me tonight. I apologize, everybody listening. It's gonna sound pretty awful the whole night from me. Anyway, Chris, you ready to jump into this, man? First year player draft.
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
I think so. I at least need to know all this information for mine coming up. So
that's good. I'm ready to go, man.
So you and I talked, and we decided we're going to break this down into groups. So we're going to talk about the general best in draft here, and we'll start right up top with Adley, Rutschman.
Yeah, Rutschman.
Yeah.
Catcher for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, absolutely. Go O's.
Currently, Oregon State. There was a little drama during the draft that he might not get picked by the Orioles. But they did the right thing. They picked the best all-around player in this. And when we talk about fantasy, we're a little scared about catchers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't. I'll be honest, as an O's fan, I'm thinking the first pick and you took a catcher, there's limited, I'm thinking limited lifespan in the MLB unless you get lucky and you get a Molina type, or he has to focus so much on defense he loses all of his offensive skills, which happens to a lot of these guys. So that's where my mind went. But I mean, this guy just appears to be just a complete monster. So.
Yeah, so like everybody was like really high on him, and then he started the season, and all of a sudden he's showing his raw power in the game. He was plus raw power. It showed up in the game. This guy is a 300 hitter waiting to happen. Switch hitter. He's I like him better as a right-handed hitter, but he's pretty good left-handed as well. I actually expect him to move fairly quickly, and could see him in the big league soon. This is very much a possibility of a number one catcher in fantasy, and this might be one of the first catchers that we see in a long time since like Buster Posey, that might go in like the first 2 rounds of a redraft or something like that.
Yeah.
We just don't see that. This is a special bat, but then of course there's that catcher risk. I was in a mock draft today where he was not the first guy taken. Actually, another guy we're going to talk about in a second, Andrew Vaughn, was taken first. Adley was taken second. I believe, like, if I had the first pick in any of these drafts, I'm going to be taking Adley. It's just how it goes. I like the guy's tool set, and I think he'll be able to help soon. And with the analytics that the Orioles are now employing, I mean, they're going to make sure that this guy is protected. DH him, catch him, do all that kind of stuff. He has a really good chance of playing 130 to 140 games, which is at a catcher position is what you want.
Yeah. So for those watching on YouTube, you're looking at the graphic that we have here on the left, and thanks to Sports Info Solutions, we grabbed some player cards for some of these guys. Unfortunately, only the college players. They don't have them for the high school players, but yeah, you can tell right there, like his stats are just monster. 17 home runs for a catcher is just nasty. The guy over 500 OBP, almost 600. Just crazy.
It,
I mean, he got
I
walked with the bases loaded in the World Series. Like, that's incredible. That's how good he is. They were afraid he was just gonna just mash one over the wall.
and just to talk up those player cards 1 second, I love the fact that and I can't see him, of course, where I'm at, but
Right.
Sports Info Solutions does a great job of putting the best possible comp and the likely comp,
Yes.
almost, you know.
Yeah, they
And
have
I
the
think
floor and the ceiling here. Matt
and I
Wieters,
think
and then
one
ceiling's
thing,
Buster Posey.
yeah, and one thing that we really get stuck with is we only talk about ceiling in this business. And while floor is a very important thing, and with this guy, you see his floor, that's pretty good player.
Yeah, Wieters was awesome for the
Was
O's while he was healthy.
While he was healthy. So, like, yeah, there's a good track record here that this guy is going to be the number 1 fantasy or number 2 fantasy catcher for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's important that you do have a guy like this coming up at a position that's fairly weak. We've talked about it on the show before that, catcher is a position that's not even played. I know I've deployed no catcher in some leagues where I've had a catcher because it was just a worthless position to me. Yeah, you want to get some stats and this and that for guys that are playing, but I'd rather have somebody that's going to add depth somewhere else on my bench if I don't have one of the top guys. And, he's going to come up and hopefully, like you're saying, set the world on fire here and become one of those top tier catchers that everyone's going to want to go after. So it'll add more depth to a weak position, which is always good for fantasy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So the next guy we got here is J.J. Bleday, outfielder from Vanderbilt, who has gone to the Marlins. What are your thoughts on J.J.?
Yeah, so like most people will have Vaughn and Rutschman as 1-2 or 2-1 or however you want to do it. I actually like this guy better than Vaughn. And not really wanting to get too far into Vaughn yet. I'm going to be quiet. But what I like about Bleday was in the SEC and performed admirably this season. Power starts showing up. He's the best all-around prospect in the game, fantasy wise. He's not the 300 hitter. He's probably not the 30 home run hitter that Rutschman might become. But this guy's going to get the job. 280 average. He has impressive strikeout to walk rates. That's always big. And the power it really came on this year. He went from a guy who was in the like first round, second round area, kind of like Jonathan India last year. Jonathan India was talked about as a second, third rounder before the season, and then just exploded. And that's what J.J. Bleday did. I also like the fact that he went to Miami. Miami has had a change in player development. It's pretty much been stripped. New guys in place. A lot of old Yankee coaches who have been great at developing college bats. And I think that goes into my thinking a lot, is how good an organization is at developing a certain thing. And they've got instructors there that have been very good with in past spots with developing bats. So this is a perfect pick for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, I like that his the card here shows that his floor is David Peralta, his ceiling is Carlos Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So Cargo was a phenomenal player when he was healthy and hitting on all cylinders. So those are pretty big shoes to fill.
Yeah, pretty big shoes.
Definitely a nice comparison, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
so moving on here to the last one of the best in draft category that we've got here is your boy Andrew Vaughn that you've brought up a couple times.
Yeah.
First baseman from Cal, drafted by the White Sox. So let's hear about him.
Yeah, so like he was 1-2 with a lot of people. I have a few reservations why I've pushed him down to 3, and it's really kind of the scout in me. Right first baseman have a long way to become a top fantasy guy. The first base position is dominated by left-handed hitters. I mean, we've seen how Pete Alonso has done this year for the Mets, and Hoskins with the Phillies, but like the leaderboard is always left-handed first baseman. It's just that's what this game is. That's where you put your best left-handed bat. The other thing is Vaughn is kind of a small guy. They have him listed at 6'1", and I'm like more like 5'11". You don't normally see that at first base. So, but there's a lot of things to like. Right-handed swing, has the bat speed and strength. I know that there's scouts out there that probably have him as a plus hitter. I don't necessarily have him as a plus hitter, but the raw power is definitely like 80 on a 20-80 scale. So this guy's going to hit bombs. I actually think he's going to be like a slightly better Pete Alonso. What we're seeing out of Pete Alonso, the heavy strikeout rates and that kind of thing, he's going to be a better Pete Alonso. But still, he's a first baseman, and I feel like you can get a first baseman, and not lose much, getting like the 10th best first baseman. Like during this draft period, this last draft year, I loaded up on shares of Carlos Santana. I just went after him big time because I didn't really feel like he was any different than some of the top 5 guys in the draft at first base. And I've succeeded with that strategy, and I feel like more and more players use that strategy because there's not much difference between the best first baseman and the 10th best first baseman. You would prefer the best guy, but you're not losing much. You'll lose more at other positions. So I ranked them further down the list. I also have some questions about the White Sox ability to develop hitting. They have not done a good job of developing hitting, and Zach Collins was supposedly can't miss, and he's still not in the big leagues. He's had a better year, and that was the last college can't miss guy that they took, and they missed. I'm sure there's still time, but like you've got to really factor in these farm systems. I mean, it's just when a guy doesn't have a track record, and when we go to the pitching, we'll talk about another organization with no track record of developing pitching. You can't trust them. So he got moved back to third for that reason, but he's still third.
Yeah, I mean it looks good here on the card. I mean, you see a ceiling of Paul Goldschmidt and a floor of Mike Napoli. I mean, that's not too bad. So, I mean, I guess regardless, this guy is going to be good. But, yeah, I'm sort of with you on the first base thing. Like, I kind of went cheap on first base this year where I could. I wasn't interested in Carlos Santana. I was obviously wrong there. I've been burned by him a couple times. I thought he was always just kind of a safer player at first base, but this year he was, and other years he wasn't. So whatever. I can be wrong once in a while, I suppose. But yeah, this I don't know if he would be this guy would be a target of mine. Again, I'm kind of with you. Like first baseman seem to just kind of pop up, and you don't need to spend high draft picks on him.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so our next category here we have is the best hit speed combo. And the first guy we have listed here is Mr. Bobby Witt Jr.,
Yes.
the shortstop from Colleyville High School, who was with the Royals. What do you think of Jr.?
All right. So everybody on your podcast, Bobby Witt Sr. was a pitcher with the Texas Rangers. Big time pitcher, really good pitcher. Never really put it together. Witt is, and Witt was the number 3 pick in the draft. The senior, junior was the number 2 pick in the overall draft. So I mean, it's pretty cool that like 2 first rounders came out of the same family, and both of them were in the top 5. Witt is a speedster. We've been hearing about Bobby Witt Jr. for about 4 years now. He was going to be the next great high school player. For people who are familiar in like 2009, 2008, we 2007, we kept on hearing about Bryce Harper. Okay, that's what we heard about Bobby Witt Jr. The difference is like he never really got better until recently. Like he was always like the cream of the crop, but like still he was the best prep guy in this draft. And he's a shortstop. He's a fantastic defender. And he's somebody that like people are going to like him. Like he's one of those guys that may be a better actual baseball player than a fantasy player, but his ability to steal bases, his ability to hit for home runs. Some people have his hit tool kind of down, like below average. I talked to one scout that thought he was like a 250 hitter with some on base percentage skill. So like there are some definite knocks on him, but like at the end of the day, he has a very high floor. Possibility to give you 20-20 type production, maybe even like 20-30 with stolen bases. So like and being a high floor high school guy kind of, you know, gets them elevated against some of the college people. You know, we're going to be we might not even get to some of these college hitters that, you know, some people would probably have higher, but like I really believe in Witt Jr. getting there.
Yeah, excuse me. I always worry about speed guys who like, you know, don't necessarily have like the massive hit tool, and you know, you worry you're gonna get like a Billy Hamilton or something like that, where like they just really can't hit at all.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll have to see what this guy does in the minors. If he starts showing some pop, then you know he's gonna be somebody that people will target. You know, in redraft leagues the year he's supposed to be coming up.
Yeah. This guy is definitely better hitter than Billy Hamilton.
Well, I think a lot of people are better hitters than Billy Hamilton.
So he's not as fast as Billy Hamilton, but I think that he has more of a utility
Right.
to fantasy owners than just one category. He's going to be able to hit for power. I project 20 to 25. I think that's a fair projection.
That's solid, though. I mean,
and
that's
in
good
this
for a
game,
speedster.
that could actually go higher with the way the ball is right now. and
Yeah, we'll
stuff.
see what it is next year.
Yeah,
They
we'll
change
see.
it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so moving on here, we had another shortstop, C.J. Abrams, another high schooler, got drafted by the Padres. Let us know a little bit about him.
Yeah, so he's a Georgia kid. He went to Blessed Trinity High School. I got to see him a few times during the season. The Indians picked 24th, so I was there just in case he fell, you know, kind of thing. I kept up with him, you know, while the guy that I worked for went after, you know, some bigger talent, you know, talent that was more likely to be drafted in the when they picked at 24. Abrams is like, you know, your toolsy guy. I mean, he's fleet of foot. He's an 80 runner, so plus runner. He makes tremendous contact, barrels the ball a lot, has some control of that barrel. There is some impatience with his swing. So we're talking about a guy who's probably a 270, 280 hitter if he develops properly, who's going to steal you anywhere between 30 and 60 bases. The Padres get a lot out of their hitters. Excuse me, the beer.
I've had a few of those.
But yeah, he does all these things. The one thing you won't get from him is much power. I talked to one scout that I don't know. I think he was kind of leading me on. He was like, I have him as an above average power tool. And, my gut always kind of just looked at it as below average. I scouted a similar player that I think we talked about last year named Xavier Edwards, who's actually a switch hitter. This guy's Abrams is a left-handed hitter. And Edwards got drafted by the Padres as the second baseman. And if I were to pick between the two guys, I was firmly on Edwards because I thought he had a little more pop in his bat. Very similar speed guys. And I also liked that Edwards was more patient. Patience is a hard thing to really project because you don't know how a guy's going to develop that in the major leagues. But I like this kid, and I have him ranked over 6th overall. So, I like this kid, but there's more uncertainty with him than with Bobby Witt Jr.
All right.
Yeah, I think we got another shortstop here.
Yeah.
Seems to be the hit speed combo is heavy on shortstop this year.
Yes, definitely.
Greg Jones is our next guy out of UNC Wilmington.
Yeah, so I really like this guy. I never got to see him. I watched video of him. I read, the normal sites. I talked to a few scouts about him, and he's a college bat. He's gone to the Rays organization, which is phenomenal at developing hitters. I mean, look at their major league team. They somehow got Diaz to hit home runs now. I think you need to give that organization right there. You're best at developing dudes after that. Because the Indians never got that out of Yancy Diaz. But what I look at this kid is that he has the hit potential. Has a good approach. He can hit for power, and he can steal you 30 bases. They got him in the 22nd or 23rd pick. I thought it was tremendous value for them at that point. I think that going to UNC Wilmington maybe knocked him down a bit, being a smaller school, but a lot of smaller schools in North Carolina play some really tough guys. I mean, we had top first rounder out of Elon, a pitcher named Kirby. We had a kid out of Campbell, which is another small college in North Carolina. I mean, the quality of competition, if somebody said, hey, Chris, you can move and be an amateur scout in the state of North Carolina and we'll pay you to do it, that would literally probably be my dream job because you can't help but find good guys. So this is a find, really. This is a guy that was considered a second, third round pick who really elevated himself to the first round this year.
So before we move on to the pitchers, Keith actually had a question, and it's a good one. He says, what about all of these teams having top prospect shortstops already in the majors, and they're fairly young?
Okay, so that's a good question. Abrams is most likely a center fielder.
Okay.
That's what I've heard. He played center field, I believe, for the U.S. national team.
Okay.
And really impressed people. But they did draft him as a shortstop. You also got to think he's 4 to 5 years away, and Tatis will be 4 to 5 years in his career. So we're talking about this could be the next guy after that. The Padres' whole farm system is absolutely loaded at almost every position. So that's not a big deal. KC, once again, you're drafting guys up the middle players, and you're doing that for a reason because they're good athletes. If Witt Jr. can push, then maybe he pushes Mondesi in 3-4 years to another position. Maybe Witt moves to another position. Maybe, Merrifield's been traded and they need a new second baseman, and one of those guys takes over there. So like that's another possibility. And then going to the Rays find places. They love athletes.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, we're talking about a team. You can, if you really study draft strategies, and I'm not going to give away the Indians because I figured it out before I worked there. I don't really work there, but I volunteer. I mean, you can figure out what their MO is in the draft very easily. What kind of players they like, in international, free agency. And then you can see a team like the Reds where you're kind of like in the first few rounds, you're kind of like, do you like a type or do you just pick the best available and hope that they develop? Because like later in the draft, the Reds go for high on base percentage guys and or very toolsy athletes that don't have much baseball skill, and they hope that the guy figures it out, kind of thing. So like you can like figure that stuff out. So like these teams that we just talked about love athletic guys in the middle of the diamond.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing there with Vaughn, coming up as the first baseman for the White Sox when they got Jose Abreu there. But
he'll be gone by then.
Yeah, he'll be gone at that point. So
yeah,
on his way out, pretty much.
I mean, Greg Jones will probably be. I was gonna say Jones will probably be the next opener for the Rays, anyways. So they're gonna convert him to pitcher and get a couple innings out of him every couple of days.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They pull that off. I'm giving them even more credit. I'm their biggest. I know people in the organization, and I ran into a scout a few weeks ago, and I was like, "You guys are like my favorite organization to watch from outside." I don't know how you do it, but like I always am like, "Oh, it's a Rays guy," and really, our whole industry is like that. All fantasy and all the scouting people, we're just amazed by the Rays.
It always seems to be somebody else from the Rays. You get caught up, and you're like, "Oh, you got to pay attention to him." So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Reds just a second ago. The first pitcher on the list that you want to talk about here is Nick Lodolo, TCU, drafted by the Reds. Obviously, what's good about him?
Well, first off, this is Nick is TCU pitcher who's has 3 average or better pitches. He has a very high floor. Number 3, number 4 starter. I haven't really heard many people say number 2. But this right here, this profile is not exciting, is it?
I mean, they're saying ceiling is Madison Bumgarner, but they say floor is Andrew Miller, which isn't bad either, but it's not a starter.
Okay, so let's be honest here. I mean, yeah, I think Sports Info Solutions, they're looking at the numbers and stuff, and like I don't see Bumgarner. I actually agree with almost every hit thing that they did, but like I just don't see Bumgarner. I see like this comfortable starter, or maybe Andrew Miller is the floor kind of thing. So like the Reds, let's talk about track record of developing pitchers. It is not good.
No.
Almost every college arm that they've drafted in the last 5 years, 10 years have been major league relievers. Okay, every high school guy, thank God he's not a high school guy. Poor Hunter Green, who blew out his elbow, but like they're even worse with the pitchers. Okay, they've only developed 2 positive WAR starting pitchers out of high schoolers since like the mid 90s. They've done a little. They probably not even done. I haven't even researched it for colleges, but like I'm just guessing they haven't done much better. I think it's like Homer Bailey and Travis Wood are their positive guys, and Travis Wood was not a long-term major leaguer, so. And then Hunter Bailey's been a shell of himself for the last few seasons. So like, it's bad. I just don't have confidence in the Reds developing a guy, but I do like the fact that they picked a high floor guy. If you're going to pick a pitcher and you don't have the track record, this is the pitcher that you pick. So I had him ranked 11th overall. I would just say proceed with caution.
All right, good to know for him. The next guy we got here is Daniel Espino.
Espino, yes.
Espino. Georgia Premier Academy. He's going to the Cleveland Indians. So what are your thoughts on him?
Best pick of the whole draft. Well, it's because I helped with the Indians, right?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Right? All right. So like
Little pat on the back.
I never saw Espino. My job was mostly to look at guys that were kind of on the peripheral of their draft list this year and just get information. So like Espino wasn't a guy I saw, but like this, I've talked to several scouts that have seen him. There's tons of stuff on online that you can find about this kid. The big reason why he went 24th and why a team didn't pick him before is that there's some concern about his arm action. It's long. And that scares teams away because of the threat of possible injury or future command issues or stuff. But like if you watch him, his lower body does a lot of the work for him. His lower body is almost perfect. It's kind of funny. The lower body is what scouts drool over. The stuff is what scouts drool over. His upper half with his long delivery, they don't like. Because there's just not the track record of those guys being very successful. But the stuff is dynamite. His fastball has touched 100 several occasions this last spring. He has really good command of his fastball. I would say it's plus command for his age. And it's plus potential as well for that. There is some concern, some reliever concern, but you've got to draft when you draft Daniel Espino, you've got to know that you're either going to get a top flight starter or a likely reliever that could be even like a middle reliever or a fringe guy, just because of some of the issues he has. But like really and truly, I believe he is definitely the best overall arm in this draft. It's just once again, you're taking a risk because of past pitchers that were like this.
Yeah, mechanics are always a big thing. Then if you can get them fixed or tweaked early on, I think that's always better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last pitcher we've got here is a guy who actually went in the third round of the actual MLB draft. Matthew Allen at Seminole High School got drafted by the Mets. If you look at I'm looking at MLB.com and his prospect ranked was 13. So I'm wondering why he went so low.
Signability.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So here's the thing: is the Mets had a very interesting strategy this year. They drafted hitter Brett Batty in the first round. Then they went, I believe, to somebody else from Texas. I want to say a pitcher. It's escaping my mind right now. And then with the third round pick, they picked this dude Allen. And then for the rest from rounds 3 to like 14, they picked nothing but college seniors that they'll sign at an absolute discount to try to sign Matthew Allen. So they are going to try to give him first round money in the third round and basically have punted the rest of their first 4, their next 10 picks to try to get this guy. They also had a strategy to draft some guys later in case they don't sign him with all that free savings that they have. Another interesting arm's a kid named Hunter Barco, who's also headed to Florida, who's going to be a signability issue as well. They took him in the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, something like that. He's a top 30 prospect in this draft, but it's a signability issue. So like Allen, what I like about him is I believe now we talked about the best arm. We talked about the most ready guy. This guy is the most dynamite overall. Okay. This guy has good mechanics. This guy has a very late breaking fastball. This guy's curveball looks to be plus plus. it's very clean. Everything he does is very clean. And when we watch like the top pitchers, like if you go and you watch another, talking about Mets, you watch Jacob deGrom. He is clean. That is the number one thing you can say about deGrom when you watch him pitch. If you just focus on his delivery, everything is clean about him. And that's what this kid reminds me of, is like he just has such clean mechanics that like everything should end up working out for him, as long as he stays away, of course, from the injuries. So like I really think that this kid's my number one pitcher, with probably Espinito my number two if I'm doing the whole scout thing. But as a fantasy guy, he's probably my third pitcher, just because the signability, there's that threat. If you're going into drafts right now, before these guys sign, you might not get Matthew Allen. He might not sign, and it might be a wasted pick. So I put him third for that reason.
Well, the Mets are still dealing with that Bobby Bonilla money that they're paying till, I don't know, what, 2058 or something like that. So that's probably part of the money.
Yeah. I mean, every team does that. It's just funnier that it's Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable because it's the Mets, and I like making fun of the Mets.
Yeah, and they also invested all that money into Madoff, and that's what they're literally having to pay it out of pocket instead of all the other teams have annuities set up. They did their annuity with Madoff, and so it's just coming right out right now. But really and truly, speaking of those things, Bruce Suter's my favorite. You need to research that one. The Braves are still paying him.
I'll definitely look into that one.
Yeah.
So the next list we got here is the top 12 overall for fantasy baseball rookie draft. What are your top 12 guys?
All right. So just quickly, Adley, Rutschman, number 1, Baltimore, J.J. Bleday, Miami, Andrew Vaughn, the White Sox, number 4, Bobby Witt Jr., KC. These are all hitters. Number 5 was Hunter Bishop out of ASU, which I absolutely can't stand that I put an ASU hitter in my top 5. Go Arizona, bear down. But he's number 5. He went to the Giants. Number 6 is San Diego CJ Abrams. We talked about him. 7 is Riley Green, who a lot of people had as the second best high school guy after Witt this year. I just have some concerns. I watched video and I just was not very impressed by him. Number 8 was Greg Jones by Tampa Bay. Number 9 was the Phillies, Bryson Stott, whatever. Number 10, and see, all right, I want to say this. After 8, I could have put tons of people in these little places. This draft is very shallow in top talent. So, like, I feel sorry for that guy that has multiple picks in the first round in his fantasy draft. And, like, if he has, like, he has pick 1 and number 4, that's fine. But if he has, like, pick 7 and pick 11, pick 11 is not going to be a normal first rounder that we see in a draft like this. Number 10 is Brett Beatty, who has some age concerns. He was a he's Met property. I guess when he signs, he'll be Met property. Number 11 is Nick Lodolo, whatever.
Lodolo, I think.
And then Daniel Espinito got number 12 on my list. My honorable mentions was Matthew Allen. He was right behind. And, really and truly, I'm thinking if he signs, I probably put him at 9. And put him at the top of the pitchers. And then other guys, Corbin Carroll, who went to the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jackson Rutledge. I heard there might be some medical issues why he fell to the Washington Nationals. Also, like, I know everybody's like, oh, the Nationals, they know pitching. They know free agent pitching.
Yeah.
They don't really develop pitchers well. Steven Strasburg is a solid pitcher. He is not what he was supposed to be. And then my last one's Keone Cavaco, which is the guy that kind of just really popped up this year that the Twins took. The Twins took a big chance on this guy. He's kind of strikeout prone. There's some swing and miss there, but like he's probably of the high school guys your big upside guy. I heard one person make a comparison to Gorman, St. Louis Cardinals prospect, and I wasn't. Last year I came in and I was like, oh, this is a guy I wouldn't go after, but like Gorman's kind of proved me wrong. So Cavaco's a guy that I probably wouldn't have elevated in the past, but like you get Gorman comp and Gorman seems to be handling things. Okay, go get him, Keone Cavaco.
I'm going to take a step back for a second and ask you about Brett Beatty. You said he was Met property. Did he get drafted by the Mets? I'm not looking at it right now.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's
okay.
our first. He's our first.
I was going to say, what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah,
you can tell how
he
much.
got drafted by the Mets, so he's like an older guy for a high schooler, and they have not really ever performed well. The difference with him is that he was against top high school competition, and I mean, people have been scared off since Blake Rutherford hasn't really turned into what he was turned into, but like it wasn't his fault he got traded to the White Sox organization, so. You can't blame him too much, right?
I mean, he's 19. He'll be 20 in November this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was held back to stay with his mom in school like years and years ago. His mom was a school teacher, and they just wanted. I don't know. I don't know the whole story, but it had something to do with that. It wasn't that he was not intelligent. Apparently, it was maybe they wanted him to be the biggest kid in the class to dominate, and maybe they knew this was going to happen.
Sure.
Yeah. 6'3", 210 at 19 is pretty big too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to finish off like this draft talk here, I got two questions for you. One is, so there's going to be guys that, because they were drafted early, they're going to get picked early in first-year player drafts. Who are some of these guys that were drafted early for real that you would be avoiding?
Well, I kind of mentioned him as a I don't know. I'm having a brain fart. I might have mentioned him as the next set of guys, but like Josh Jung just doesn't do it for me. I've watched some video of him. I didn't have to cover him for Baseball HQ. We have a writer that took his profile, but like to me he was just average type guy, and I think really the Rangers went for him because he would sign and they could sign more players. He would sign for a cheaper amount. To me, there's a prospect in and I'm blanking on his name right now, in the A's organization. He's in AAA. See, just this kind of has a bubble, but I know that's a weird thing to remember about a guy, but I promise you that's all I can remember right now. But the guy was a second rounder out of Oklahoma, and the big knock on him was that they didn't believe the power would ever come at third base. And really and truly, that's Josh Jung as well. Like the power just doesn't seem to be there. It's bothering me that I don't know this guy's name. Because like that's my job, is to know these prospects' names, and I can't think of it. But like that's what this guy reminded me of, is a guy at a position that needs to, you need to be a top dude. And
is he still third base, by the way?
The guy in
Oakland?
Let's see here.
Sheldon Neuse. Yeah.
Neuse. It's Neuse.
Neuse. Okay.
Yeah. And see, that was my problem. And they've tinkered with his swing in the Oakland A's organization, and they haven't been able to get the right mix for him yet. He's hitting better than he did last year, but like he's still only 822 OPS in the hitter friendly
PCL.
Yeah. I mean, this guy should be 1,000 whatever dude.
They're showing his power here on MLB.com is a 45 grade. Like that doesn't seem top notch at all.
Yeah, I mean, the raw power is like 60, but like his swing is just not built for that, and that's kind of what I saw with Josh Jung. So like I just don't know with him. Yeah.
Got anybody else?
Yeah, I've got the 9th overall pick. That was the 8th overall pick. The 9th overall pick is a glove first with some power catcher. And here's this whole thing. Shea Langeliers is his name, and he was right up there with Andrew Vaughn and Adley Rutschman as the top guys, I guess, last summer for this draft, and he fell. And like, honestly, I was surprised he was picked in the top 10, but it made sense with the Braves, being close to contention with older catchers. To get a guy that will probably move a little quickly, move a little quickly. So like, I understand why the pick is, but like, he's not really a fantasy option for me. I don't want to own catchers usually unless they're like Adley Rutschman or Joey Bart. I mean, that's where I'm at. And then the final guy is a guy I actually wrote up today who I saw pitch at Kennesaw State for West Virginia University, and that's Alec Manoff, which like this is a guy that people are split on. Plus fastball, plus maybe I didn't see plus slider, but other people have seen plus slider. I even went back and watched video when I was writing this, and I was like, I just don't see this plus slider. I don't know where it is. People have said that he's improved his changeup, but like everybody I've talked to that have actually seen him this year haven't seen a changeup. He hasn't thrown one. He throws exclusively from the stretch. He's also an enormous guy. He's like 6'6" and about 260, 270, maybe even 280. He has trouble repeating. He has really kind of like jerky delivery. And like big guys, there's not many of them. CC Sabathia is the best of the big guy pitchers, and CC Sabathia is a plus athlete. This guy's a below average athlete. Yeah, he's a right-hander too, but Clay Billingsley might be a kind of comp for him. But like, I really think this kid's a reliever, and like when I saw him, I told my scout that I thought he was a 2nd to 4th round pick. He was number 11. And I think that was more of an indication of this draft. This draft was just not the value in this draft was from rounds 5 to about round 15, because you could get guys that would have normally been in the 3rd, 4th round in all those rounds. That there was a lot of those type of hitters this year, while last year the value was in the end of the 1st round to like the 3rd round, because you could get some guys that would have normally been in the top 20 in those rounds. So like this guy was a 2nd to 4th round pick, and I have him pegged as a reliever.
Interesting. So I got one last question for you, and it's kind of a personal question.
All right.
So in my only dynasty league that I'm in, where we do first year player draft, I either have the 14th or the 13th pick in both rounds.
Oh.
If I can get any sort of value for those picks, like for current players, do I take it, or do I just take picks for next year and just don't even worry about this year?
I'm currently in a mock draft, and like I'm trying to trade out of the pick.
You're in a mock trying to trade?
I have the 12th in the 1st round. I have the 12th pick, and like I'm not really that impressed with what we're seeing right now. So like, to me, I have 2 guys that I'm considering right now. I'm not going to say it because it could be days until I draft.
Right.
But like, there's guys out there that we've talked about. Like, I think that a guy like Greg Jones would fall because nobody really thinks of him. I think I might be the high guy in the fantasy community about him, which might not be a good thing. I mean, I'm only one man. But like, you're losing something pretty substantial after the top 8 guys that I named, 9 if Allen signs. like there's a lot of flaws in these players. So like I'm assuming international free agents might be available in these rounds.
So we do ours later.
Okay.
We do wait for the international players to sign, which means most of these draftees will be signed as well. So we'll know if Allen is signed. So that's kind of how we roll. So, I mean, I may not worry about trading it at, like before the draft, but like I think during the draft I could get better value because somebody might get excited about a guy or something and like pay up for him and give me like my team's really good this year. I can probably just take an extra player and just use them.
Draft picks altogether are like for me, and this is something I've learned. I'm in the RotoWire Dynasty Invitational, and I've seen that. Like we went through our first draft of first year players last year, and like I just like I don't know how valuable draft picks are, to be honest with you. I think that they're good capital, but like I don't. I mean, and we have a different strategy. Me and my partner Michael Rathburn, we just I don't know. We value draft picks depending on what we think's there at that time. And like to me, at where you're picking, I don't know how much I value those guys. I would rather value a guy in the second or third round because I feel like I could get the guys that I like, other than maybe Greg Jones. I can get those guys in the second, third, fourth, even a fourth round.
Yeah, see, we only do 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a mistake the more I think about it because we have so many prospects that get just like they sit. I mean, think about how crazy this is. We've been doing this league for 5 years. And 2 years ago, we sort of a hybrid of a keeper dynasty. We have this 40-man roster. We keep 25, so we do a 15-man draft every year. But I actually 2 years ago got to draft Rhys Hoskins because he wasn't taken in a first-year player draft. And I was like, wait a minute, why are you out there? And it's because we only have 2 rounds. So, there's definitely a lot of players that fall through the cracks. And I think you're going to get that regardless in baseball. You find guys that break out and you're not expecting to. But, it sounds like you'd be willing to trade these picks more than hold on to them unless, like, somebody completely fell that wasn't supposed to, which has happened in my drafts. I got who's the Philly guy that just got called up and then hurt real quick. Outfielder. Oh, dang it.
King? No, not Kingery.
Literally like a week ago.
Hasley. Oh, it was I know who it is. Virginia kid.
Yeah, Adam Hazley or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like he fell to me with like the next to last pick in the first round one year, and I snagged him, and he's like shot through the minors, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I thankfully didn't activate him because he got hurt 3 days later, but so he's still sitting in my minor league slots. But yeah, it's stuff like that. Like he fell, so it was fine. So I took him. I didn't trade the pick instead. But it's always very possible somebody like Greg Jones will fall, or maybe somebody doesn't pay attention and Matthew Allen's sitting there. I'll take him. My pitching's old, so I'll take a chance on Matthew Allen.
One of the things that we don't see, man, is we don't see the analytics side of these things, and see, my inside information tells me that like the analytics of Virginia kids, like Virginia believed in analytics before any of the other colleges. That's why their hitters tend to move faster. I don't know what's happened to Pavin Smith in the Arizona organization, but like that's why Hazley was such a good pick. But like he wasn't sexy. There's nothing sexy about that pick, and that's why he fell in that draft. He's not a sexy player. So like he's just like, he could be David Peralta. And like David Peralta is not a sexy player. I mean, he's so underappreciated. especially in fantasy. So like that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we got to move on and close out the show, but definitely good to have you on again. Remind everybody where they can find you, and we'll close it out.
Yeah, so I'm at baseballhq.com. I published a piece on CJ Abrams and Alec Manoff today. You can find me on Twitter at C_blessing. I will also be in Cleveland. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but I will be speaking at the Prospect 1500 little convention they're having before the Futures game.
Oh, nice.
I'll be on a panel. So,
Awesome.
like, if you're in Cleveland, you should sign up for that thing.
We actually have a writer that's near Cleveland. So,
all right.
Where
That's
in
awesome.
Cleveland is that?
That's a good question. Go to the Prospect 1500 website.
All right.
I don't have that bar. It's near the stadium, from what I understand. I'm not quite familiar. And then I have future trips in planned. I'm going to Birmingham on Sunday to see Sixto Sanchez of the Marlins. I'm going to go up to the Futures game. I'm going to go see the loaded Cleveland Indians low A team in. I think it's called Modern. I can't pronounce the name. MV is the initials. But I'm gonna go see them. It's an Indian name, and I just don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest.
Okay.
But anyway, like there is some good talent in the New York Penn League. If people are around the New York Penn League this year, I suggest all your listeners to go see that team, the Indians affiliate.
Sounds good, man. All right, well, always enjoy it. Great information. I will be probably pinging you before my draft again. So,
all right, I'll
look
be
forward
looking
to it.
forward to that, man.
All right, man. Good talking to you. Have a good night.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers, buddy.
Later.
All right, AJ. So since my voice is about to completely die, I'm gonna let you rip through the injuries, waivers, and then or bullpen, and then waivers.
All right.
I'll chime in when I feel like I need to, but you'll probably cover most of it.
All right, so let's start off with the injured batters here. We've got Dwight Smith is out dealing with a concussion right now. He might return tomorrow, but keep an eye on that. Hopefully he'll be back at some point this weekend. Nolan Arenado has been hit by a pitch in the arm. The x-rays came back negative, but and he was supposed to play tonight. Did not get in to see if he was in that lineup.
He is. I actually just looked it up because I realized I didn't update that.
Oh, all right, awesome.
But yeah,
so
he's
playing
in.
tonight.
Over 2, unfortunately, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yoan Moncada is dealing with a back injury. Hopefully he'll be back this weekend. Joey Votto was removed from yesterday's game due to some back stiffness. Kind of a shame because he finally started to sort of play baseball again. So
I know what you mean, but yeah.
who knows? No timetable as of yet. Keep an eye on him. He's day to day. Big injury here. Corey Seager hit the IL with a hamstring injury. He's looking at a late July return as a hopeful timetable.
I saw a funny tweet about Seager. They were like, "Has Kyle and Corey Seager ever been in the box score on the same day ever? Like they had just always one of them seems to be injured." I kind of laughed.
It's true, man.
I know, right?
Definitely a good,
especially in the last 2 years.
Good thing to figure out. But yeah, that's a big blow. Seager finally, he was really starting to come on strong recently. So that's a big hit to the Dodgers. Look for Chris Taylor to fill in for him. David Fletcher of the Angels has been out the last few games, killing my team. Thank you for that. With some shoulder discomfort. He was out again tonight. So maybe he'll be back this weekend. If not, maybe next week, hopefully. You never really know with these shoulder issues, though, if it's something more underlying. Brandon Nimmo is set to return by the end of this week. Robinson Cano, unless he suffers another setback, he could return on Sunday. And last but not least, for the injured batters. Our thoughts and jocks go out to Mitch Haniger. He has been hit with the unspeakable and has a ruptured testicle. He is out at least a few weeks before he resumes baseball activities. Took one right to the nets there. So our thoughts and prayers are with Haniger as he works his way through this.
You don't know, but I just played the sound effects for God, no. And then your favorite,
Yes.
I bet my Wookiee. Yep.
Yes,
Pretty
that
fitting.
is. Yeah, that's a bent Wookiee, all right.
Oh, good. Yeah, we can move
All
on.
right.
Move on.
So injuries, pitchers. Mike Clevenger. Some good news. He will finally be returning on Monday, and definitely a much needed boost to the Indians rotation.
Yeah, he had
So-
one rough outing, and then he had pretty much a dominant outing this last time at least. So
Yeah,
they're ready to bring him up because you're right, man. The Cleveland pitching staff is just decimated, dude.
absolutely. Jose Urena is out with a lower back strain right now. He's hopeful to return in a couple of weeks in late June. Jordan Yamamoto replaced him in the rotation, and he had a fantastic start the other night. So he should easily get at least one more start. Maybe could be a 2-starter next week. So keep an eye on that. And Urena. And then Domingo Herman is dealing with a hip flexor. Currently, there's no timetable announced yet.
It's weird. They've been like, the first time they announced it, it was like, oh yeah, we should have an update in the next day or two. It's been like a week, so I don't know what's going on. I can't find anything on it.
Yeah. And speaking of the Yankees, and a good little segue into the bullpen report here, Dellin Betances was shut down again on Tuesday after an MRI revealed a low-grade strain in his right lat. Currently, there's no timetable for his return. I mean, this guy just can't catch a break right now, and he's been on the IL all season. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But Chapman's been locking things down at the back end, as has Britton. So look for those two to continue on their stellar season for New York. But speaking of the bullpen, a couple new notes here we've got. We did our major overhaul yesterday, late morning, early afternoon, and then of course Murphy's Law takes into effect, and Toronto released the news that Ken Giles was put on the IL. It sounds like it's elbow inflammation, which usually is scary, but it doesn't sound like this is anything major. It seems like it's more of just a maintenance thing because he had some issues getting back up to speed after pitching on back-to-back nights last week. So his stay on the IL could actually end, I believe, this Sunday. But Joe Biagini is currently listed as the new closer. Did not really impress much last night in his first chance to pitch in a little bit more of a higher leverage situation. He actually came in, I believe, in the 7th, and he ended up giving up 2 earned runs, got charged to him. Daniel Hudson ended up coming in and locking it down in the last, getting the last 4 outs with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. So keep an eye on that situation. Like I said, it sounds like Giles should be back sooner rather than later. Atlanta has brought A.J. Minter back into the big leagues, and this is shifting Sean Newcomb back to a starting role. He's actually starting later this weekend. He came in on Monday or Tuesday and cleaned up Kevin Gausman's absolute abomination of a mess, and I believe got the win. He had a huge game with 4 or so innings of relief. So Newcomb could be a good option as a starter if you're looking for some starting help. Minter is there back in the back end, though. Luke Jackson is still currently the main closer, but he could be overtaken. He's had some up and down struggles. Baltimore, you got Michael Givens is basically all but officially been listed as the closer. I went ahead and left the Orioles as the hammered wingman status, but did put him as the top option. He's got 2 saves in his last 3 outings now and hasn't allowed a hit in 4 straight. So we're not yet giving him the role, but it seems like he's kind of righted the ship a bit. LA Angels, Hansel Robles is the only relief pitcher for them to not just save this month so far. So it was a committee with him and Ty Buttrey, but I've gone ahead and changed it to just straight buzzed at this point, and leaving Robles as the closer. Minnesota, we've had Taylor Rogers listed as the main lead closer of their committee for the past couple of weeks now. Seems to be the clear favorite. He did not pitch earlier this week to get some rest, and Blake Parker was available, but he also did not pitch and was bypassed for Trevor May. So May ended up getting his first save of the season on Tuesday. Rogers was dealing with some back stiffness, but I believe that is past at this point. And then last but not least, we've got my hometown Phillies. Hector Neris has 4 straight saves after taking the loss on June 1st. I mean, he's just been dominant. So I went ahead and removed the hammered wingman status from their team as well, leaving them as buzzed just because they're dealing with so many injuries in their bullpen. So you're looking at Neris and then Vince Velasquez and Juan Nicasio. JD Hammer is back there, but he's been getting lit up a little bit. So I like Neris to keep the role for right now. So that's pretty much what we got for the bullpen report. Any notes to add on there, Joe? You good? Okay.
No. Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry, I am obviously have a cold, so I keep going off screen to sneeze, and I'm muting in between, and I keep forgetting to unmute. So
No problem. So
figure nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, so some waiver ads we got here. Listed a bunch of guys, but I'm just going to highlight a few of them here. So Ramon Laureano is currently, as of earlier tonight, was only 27% owned in Yahoo leagues. Over his last 14 games, he's got 7 runs, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. Plus, he's rocking a 288 average. So definitely solid stats there the last couple of weeks. And next we've got Colin Moran, third baseman for Pittsburgh. I mean, this guy's only 10% owned. In his last 14, he's got 10 runs, 4 homers, 9 ribbies, no stolen bases, but he's hitting 302 average. So definitely solid production there. Another outfielder I got here, Jacoby Jones, has also 10% owned. He's 7 runs, 3 homers, 7 ribbies, 1 stolen, and a 389 average. So definitely been hitting the ball real well the past couple of weeks here. And then a couple of pitchers, Merrill Kelly, who I'm still kicking myself for not picking up for his start yesterday. He absolutely destroyed the Phillies. 19% owned in Yahoo leagues, and he his last 3 starts, 3-0, 3 quality starts across 22 1/3 innings pitched. He's got 18 Ks, and he's given up 12 total hits, 2 walks, and 2 earned runs. So I don't know how that factors into the ERA and WHIP. Didn't have it broken down on my league there. The other guy had listed, Adrian Sampson, got his ass handed to him tonight by Boston. He was 29% owned. That'll probably drop after tonight. He got beat up pretty good.
6 earned runs in 5 innings.
Yeah.
Not great.
I mean, he had a 1.13 ERA before this outing so far in June, and 18 Ks and 16 innings pitched. But his teammate, Ariel Gerardo, has been
all right. He's been
good.
at least like streamable. In fact, I want to say he shut down. I'm trying to find the game log here. Just earlier this week, he basically shut down the Red Sox. I got it up here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shut down, but
3
earned. He got a quality start.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad.
3 walks, 5 hits, 6 Ks. Gave up only 1 homer, but he got the win.
Yeah.
He's got 3 straight wins against Boston and then Baltimore and Kansas City. So take that.
He's definitely a streamable guy. He's not gonna like lower your ratios big time.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking for like, he's averaging around, a K an inning lately.
And he's a converted reliever as well, because he started the season in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And then he started Texas started playing around with an opener as well, similar to what Tampa does. And he came in as an opener for a handful of games too. And then I guess that just started. Yeah, I think he had two opener games.
I don't see that, but you might be right. Maybe I'm missing something. But anyway.
I know, yeah. So
he's somebody who I think you can stream. He's somebody to keep an eye on if he can, keep things going. I mean, still 3 runs against Boston in Boston, ain't too bad.
So. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we got for the waiver wire ads here. A couple other guys you could look at: Mike Leake, Jason Vargas have been both pitching pretty well recently, but you know who those guys are, so I wouldn't get too excited over them.
Right.
So that's pretty much what I got for my info.
So I know we usually ended here. I gotta rant a little bit, dude. This won't take too long, I promise, because I know we all gotta go. Dude, so I'm in a Dynasty Football League. Bunch of guys, I have no idea who they are. My friend asked me to play, co-own his team with him. And last year was the first year, and it was fine. No big deal. This offseason, there's this one owner who has literally been sending God knows how many trades, and they are all just terrible, to the point where people in the league are going on Slack. We have a Slack group together, and just like calling this dude out, like, stop sending me trades. Like, you're annoying, basically, right? Like, get a hint. Stop sending trades. Your trades suck. And he's just like, well, apparently you guys just don't know value. And it's like, no, apparently you don't. Like, when there's 11 other owners telling you have no idea what you're talking about, maybe you're the one who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's been happening for a while, right? Hadn't heard from the guy in a bit. Messages me and my friend a couple nights, or yesterday morning. He goes, hey, what would you think about a trade where the basis is your David Johnson and my James Conner? And I was like, all right. I mean, that's a doable, like, starting point. What are you thinking? And he goes, well, James Conner is 3 years younger, so I was thinking David Johnson plus somebody else for James Conner. And I was like, come on, man. Like, David Johnson's the better player. He's still only 27. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're on crack, dude. And I literally said that. I was like, you're on crack. Like, I just got so tired. I was already fed up with this guy. Like, just enough, dude. Go away. He writes to me word for word. I'm going to read this. It is unbelievable what this dude said. Slack. Could you be any slower right now? He sends me a screenshot of a dynasty trade calculator where David Johnson and James Conner are close in value, yes, but David Johnson is higher. So why am I giving you a player on top of him? I hadn't even gotten that far yet. And he goes, yep, I'm on crack. Hard dealing with ignorant owners. Over. It is over. I went on a cursing tirade at this dude. I was just like, get away from me. Never talk to me again. How dare you call me ignorant? Like, are you kidding? And just off. I went off the rails. I have not done this in a long ass time since I was like in my mid 20s, dude. Like crazy. I was absolutely just. And then he sends me another. I was like, nobody likes trading with you. Just shut the F up. He goes, I think that's less of a judgment on me versus the owners I have traded with. And I was like, okay, my God.
Who has he traded with?
He's traded with like two guys. And one he absolutely robbed. And we all were like, what are you doing? And one he got absolutely smoked on. And we were like, okay, whatever. So then he goes, and yes, you're ignorant. When such an offer is proposed and you say, I'm on crack. It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said you were on crack, but like, I feel like that's sort of a saying people say when they're just like, are you crazy?
Don't take it literally.
It's like, literally like, are you crazy, right? Like, it wasn't an actual, like, are you on crack? Anyway.
Yeah.
But he apparently didn't take it that way. So fine. I was like, my bad, dude. So then he sends me another screenshot of another trade dynasty calculator where David Johnson is more valued than James Conner. Yes, they're close, but like, why would I still give you another player on top of David Johnson? And I wrote back and I went, again, you're calling me ignorant. And I just, in all caps, went, F you. Stop talking to me. And then he goes, it's like I'm in a league with a bunch of women all on their period at the same time. Like, what is wrong with you? I have never, ever had anybody say stuff like this to me before in my life. I'm just like, I went to my friend and was like, you can have fun with the league, dude. I'm done. Like, this dude is off his rocker. There's no way. And I don't even know. Like, it's just a funny story at this point. I'm laughing at it now, but dude, my blood was boiling yesterday morning at work when this was going on.
I would have had a field day on that guy.
Oh, dude. Like, I did
wouldn't have even known that he has legs and can walk away anymore after I was done railing into him.
It's so funny. I was listening to Sirius XM on the way home from work the day before, and they were talking about bad commissioners and, like, shady stuff that commissioners do, right? And then I started thinking about this guy, and then literally the next morning I get this happen, and I'm like, God, what about bad owners? Like, that needs to be told too. Like, bad owners are like, people like this ruin leagues.
Yeah, it's not just commissioners that do it. You know, I mean, there's plenty of shady commissioners out there. You get involved in a league that's got one, you leave the league the next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's as simple as that. Like, you know, this is a game. It's supposed to be fun, but you know, a lot of these leagues have money on the line, and you can't deal with that. Like, you're not gonna mess with my wallet. You know, I'll be the one to do that. So
it's not even that. Whatever. It's just like, it just doesn't make it fun if you know there's like sketchiness and cheating, or like in this case with the owner, like you just get constantly berated with bad trades, and then when you say like no, he just name calls you, and it's like, I would love to know how old this guy is. I haven't asked. Like, I have no idea if this guy's like 15. Like, he acts like he is.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it'd be funny to bring that up just because it was on my mind, and we don't get a lot of stories like that. So.
Yeah. Well, last thing I'll throw in there. Yeah, I don't believe Gerardo was actually an opener. Everything I've looked at in his last games, he's either came in later or pitched, you know, multiple innings to start the game.
Right.
Jose Leclerc was an opener for a few games, and as was Jesse Chavez. So maybe I was just thinking, I saw the you know, PP next to his name for pitcher, probable pitcher, thinking, oh, okay, well now he's the next opener. So my apologies for the incorrect statements on that one.
It happens. All right, man. Well, let's close it out. Call it a night, and we will see you all next week. See ya.
All right, sounds good.